What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Awaken Catholic Show. I am your host, Nick Torre, and today we got a spicy hot episode. This episode could be referred to as a spicy hot tamale. We got the one and only Jason Evert here with us today. Jason, how are you feeling?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, super excited to have you here. And later tonight, after we film this, we have the YB Catholic event. Tomorrow we have the Sex, Love, and Porn event. If you know anything about the stuff that Jason talks about, the stuff that he's an expert on, the stuff that he loves to share good news about to people like you and me, you know this is going to be a spicy hot episode. So all that stuff is coming up right after this. This is the Awaken Catholic Show, and if you enjoy the stuff we're doing here at Awaken Catholic, and in particular the show or any of the other ones, then you could join the Awaken Nation. You could become a part of what makes all of this stuff possible by making a small monthly contribution, whether it's the size of, you know, one of those little tall, what does Starbucks call the small cups of coffee, grande, you know, and then
mocha latte frappuccino,
and then they
whatever.
Yeah, they translate the bigger ones to venti, which is like Swahili or Italian or something. Anyways, whatever your budget and bladder can afford, you could do that to help out here in this ministry. And you know, you could pray about making it part of your tithing. Check out awakencatholic.org/donate to join the Awaken Nation and get a bunch of exclusive content that no one else gets. Additionally, where you can get all of the Awaken Catholic content and interact with brothers and sisters in the faith and who are considering being in the faith all over the world. Like we've been getting some people. We have someone just joined the app yesterday from Southeast Asia. Like there's people everywhere searching for more, searching for community. And if you're one of those people searching for a less toxic, a less, nausea-inducing experience of social media, then you could check out the Awaken Catholic app. You can search for it on the App Store or the Google Play Store, or just use your browser on your laptop or desktop computer. That is all I had to, deliver as far as that stuff goes. Jason, welcome to the Awaken Catholic Show.
Again, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, sir. So, you're one of these guys that when you speak, the words that you're saying are transformative. Like they're pivotal in the sense that literally someone can pivot their life at the inspiration of hearing the stuff that you communicate. It's stuff that, I know that you are a deep lover of John Paul II. I know that you talk a lot about some of these themes of the dignity of the human person, and why chastity is so intrinsically important to relationships and even to like our own health as people. Yeah. But you're this international phenomenon, and how did you become you?
How did I become me? Just doing what I loved. When I was in high school, I started helping out on youth retreats, and then when I got to college, I was leading the high school retreats, and just loved being with the young people. That's where my heart was at, and started to speak on chastity, and the doors started flinging open, and before you knew it, it was 100,000 kids a year, and been doing it for like 22, 23 years. And so to me, it's just like God gives you your desires, your loves, your passions as his gift to you. Okay. And if you say yes to him, he can take care of the rest and open the doors that he wants to.
Yeah. Amen to that. Did you come out of the womb loving theology of the body?
Oh, no, not exactly.
That's kind of what I'm wondering about is what was that like?
Yeah, no, I was raised in a Catholic home. I went to Mass on Sundays, grace before meals, but that was pretty much it in terms of the extent of the devotional life within the family. Solid, great pair of faithful, loving parents, but didn't really discover theology of the body, all that stuff, until I ended up at Franciscan University of Steubenville. And then that was the first time I really heard kind of a winsome explanation of the church's teachings on human sexuality. I knew it was the right thing to do and this and that, but just seeing the beauty behind it, it's like, how come they're so busy telling us in high school everything we're not supposed to do and not telling us what we are supposed to do and what love really is supposed to look like and how to build that? And so I've tried to make that a focus of our ministry instead of just giving them a litany of thou shalt nots, really helping them to find the desires of their heart, which is authentic love, and lust is just a counterfeit. Yeah,
I found that to be, so you're saying that there was an instance at Franciscan, or in general while you were at Franciscan?
Well, it was a gradual process for sure, but it was so much of just being around the people living it out. Like I remember I wanted to date with a girl I was dating at the time, and finished the date. It must have been like 1 o'clock in the morning. We decided to swing by the Adoration Chapel downtown in Steubenville off campus. So we kind of go under to the basement of this church. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. The place totally empty except for one guy just sitting in front of the Blessed Sacrament with a Bible on his lap. And it was my professor, Dr. Scott Hahn. And it's like, okay, this guy talks the talk.
Yeah.
He walks it.
That's
He's not just up there, here's the theology. There's like 1 o'clock in the morning, away from his wife and kids. They're all tucked in bed, and he's there before the master.
Wow.
And just seeing other husbands, like teachers, like, hey, come on to my family. We'll play a rosary together after, dinner tonight. And I'd never prayed a family rosary before at that point. I mean, prayed to my family, but just to see it lived out, is contagious.
Oh my gosh, that is the truth. That is the truth. And what's hard is to see it lived out poorly is equally contagious.
Oh yeah.
And that was a big part of why I left the faith. I attended Catholic schooling. I had a couple of Catholic households because my parents were divorced. And when you see, everybody at my Catholic school, in my homes, like everybody loved me. Everybody wanted the best for me. Teachers, by and large, were good people that now I would have a lot of fun with if I ran into them.
Yeah.
But when you're operating from a place of not having encountered, not having had an encounter with the person of God, the person of Jesus, and having had that transformative experience where you have this realization, this epiphany, where you're like, whoa, my whole life has to be about this. Until you have had that, it's really difficult to hear someone say that you're not like living the faith the way you could, because you're like, well, I'm a Catholic, I'm going to mass, I'm doing this thing, I'm not murdering people. Like, so I think that it's a hard thing to understand until it's happened to you. But man, so much of my Catholic education, like we were being taught the stuff, but we weren't being taught the person. Yeah. In the body language, in the way that they would behave. And I fault nobody for that, because that's not, they didn't know what they didn't know, and I think that we are seeing a really cool transition now. But man, once you have had that, like it's not like you're magically like a better person overnight. Yeah. But what I have found to happen in my experience is that like I suddenly have my eyes opened, like the light is shining in my life, the light of Christ, in a way that I can see all the stuff going on in the dark corners in a different way if I choose to. Yeah. So I think that the lived example, like you were saying, that you saw with Dr. Scott Hahn, that's so huge. Yeah. Absolutely.
Have you ever dreamed of visiting Paris in the fall? Seeing the beautiful Eiffel Tower lit up by a sunset? Visiting and venerating holy locations of the Sister Saints of France in Lisieux, Paris, Lourdes, and more. This fall 2021, join Select International Tours with Claire Swinarski from The Catholic Feminist, author and speaker Catherine Whitaker, and our amazing hosts Morgan Holliger and Megan Burwell from Awaken's show Naked Without Shame on a once-in-a-lifetime Seine River Cruise pilgrimage. Join our friends at Select International Tours and Cruises with over 34 years of experience. They are the perfect company to help you experience pilgrimage. To learn more, visit selectinternationaltours.com/awaken. Bon voyage!
Okay, so what would you say was because we've been addressing theology of the body a couple times here. How would you describe in a nutshell that to someone who has no idea what we're talking about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was 5 years of Wednesday audiences that John Paul II gave, these theological speeches from the 1970s to 80s. And it's dense. I mean, it's like 500 pages of really dense philosophy and theology. But the core of the idea is that you're made in the image and likeness of God. Okay, we've heard that. God is love. Okay, so you're made in the image and likeness of love. And love isn't something in isolation. Love is a communion of persons in life-giving love. And so our bodies, despite what modern culture tells us, are not meaningless. Our bodies are meaningful, and they reveal the call to make ourselves a gift. And it might be to make a gift of yourself in marriage, maybe a gift of yourself in service, in the single life, priesthood, religious life. But life makes sense to the extent that it becomes a gift for other people. And that's when life makes sense. When we're all navel-gazing and it's all about me, life just seems senseless. But when I realize, like, I have been created by God and stamped into my body as not only my identity as male or female, but my calling to make a gift of ourselves. And so it's a reorientation of the whole way we view the human person. And, and he does delve into human sexuality and in such a beautiful way, though. And I'll just give you just one nugget that I think will be a teaser to make someone want to learn about it. He talks about when we grow in purity of heart, he says that what can happen is that a husband can actually give his wife what Eve first experienced with Adam of having all the peace of the interior gaze. And what he meant by that is that when Adam first looked upon Eve, before sin, he saw her body as an invitation of love. He saw the goodness of her as a person, her dignity. He didn't see her as something to be used for selfish gratification. And a woman's heart is very intuitive. She can perceive from 100 yards away if a guy's looking at her as something to be used. There's this restless vulnerability, this resentment that it creates. But if a man is growing in purity of heart, he actually has this ability to give his wife the peace of the interior gaze. I know I'm being looked at with love and reverence. And so purity isn't the absence of desire, but the presence of this purity of heart to love rightly. And so this resonates with people. It's I want a woman I want to be looked at rightly. I want to, and a man wants to love rightly. But the way he portrays things is so beautiful. In fact, when there's a bishop, I was hearing one of John Paul's talks he was given to a bunch of bishops that making the gospel attractive to the modern world, even though it's really demanding. And a bishop went up to him and said, how do we do that? Attractive. How do we make the gospel attractive to the modern world? And he said, John Paul became very serious like a philosopher. And he said, it is necessary to understand the soul of the woman. All these things that have promised to liberate her, contraception, abortion, premarital sex, have they not enslaved her? But that one line, if you want to make the church's teachings on human sexuality, the gospel, attractive to the modern world, it is necessary to understand the soul of the woman.
Wow.
And isn't that what every woman wants? And isn't that kind of what every guy would love to figure out?
Yeah. Wow.
And so John Paul got it, though. I mean, he was such an amazing human being, an amazing listener. And then John Paul, the theology of the body just flows right from that heart.
Gosh, that's beautiful. Yeah. So in your own life, going back to your story, you went to Franciscan. What was it like? You grew up as a Catholic, but did you always have a fire for the Lord? Did you always, were you brought up in a charismatic home, or what was your personal journey with the Lord there?
No, I mean, I had never even heard of the charismatic movement before I got to Steubenville. And I remember my parents dropped me off on campus. They left, and I sat next to the guy who was the most charismatic guy on campus. And the mass started, and he started doing all, and I'm like, Mom, Dad, come get me. What is this going on? And so it wouldn't ever into the big, uber, charismatic stuff. I mean, raised in a Catholic home, went to Life Teen Youth Group, which is really good. That started to really foster my conversion. We had a great confirmation program. So it was a very gradual thing, because in high school, I was living in two worlds. I had one foot in the world, one foot in church, and kind of just sitting right there on the fence and be like, I got my church friends, I got my not church friends, and going to youth group, then looking at porn and vandalizing. And it was just...
You were vandalizing?
Some things, not everything.
Were you one of those guys tagging buildings? Or?
Oh, no, we were worse.
Oh, gosh. It wasn't art.
Yeah, no, it was, this is not even modern art.
Oh, boy.
But I mean, but doing this stuff the same day as youth group meetings. And it's I got a foot on a dock, a foot on the boat, and they're starting to drift. And it's dude, pick one. And just there's this rift of just I'm hanging out with my friends and they're looking at porn and they're doing this and I'm doing that. And it's just pick a lane, buddy. And so, but it was just the authenticity of the people at youth group and the joy that they possessed. And we did some service work down in Mexico, and I'm with these poor kids, don't even have shoes, and they're a heck of a lot happier than I am. They got God, they got family, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. And I've got a 2-car, garage, and we've got a brand new truck when I'm 16 years old, and all the friends and all this, but miserable. And, depressed, and even thinking is life even worth living? And then seeing people in abject poverty with nothing but the richness of their faith. It's a wake-up call.
Wow. Yeah. Goodness gracious. I can relate to that double life thing 100%. That was not right now.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that right now, honey. We're good. No, but I think that's so hard. And I think a lot of people can relate to that probably, right? In different ways, maybe to varying degrees. Maybe you're, watching this or you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's nothing like me. I don't vandalize. That's okay. There are other ways to sin. Gosh, that's really interesting.
I remember I was, one day I was driving home from school with my best friend, and he pulls his car to the parking lot of a pornographic adult bookstore. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm going to go in the nudie bookstore. And I'm like, don't go in some nudie bookstore, you filthy little pervert. And he's like, well, I'm going in there. And I'm like, well, I'm not going in there. I'm not some perv. My porn's at home. And I'm sitting there for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. I'm like, what is he doing there? I look at my watch. Yeah, I got a confirmation class to be at a church soon. And I'm sitting in the parking lot of some filthy bookstore waiting for the best friend to get out. It just dawned on me, you got a lot of, good friends, but you don't have friends that are good.
Wow. Yeah. That's a super interesting note to consider is like when you are in this moment of, there's this really cool word, I think it's Greek metanoia, where you turn your life around, you turn around. And when I encountered my opportunity for metanoia to turn everything around, I had to make some really stark choices of like literally ending certain friendships. Not in the sense of like, I don't care about you anymore, but it was like, I can't allow you to influence my life anymore.
Yeah.
And so I still will engage with these people. I'll still talk to them. I'll still pray for them, but I won't like spend extended amounts of time in an environment. You work at a pizzeria, you're going to smell like pizza.
Yeah.
Whatever you soak yourself in, you're going to smell like, you're going to be like.
Yeah.
So anyways, on this note, on the note of the progression, the journey towards Jesus and the metanoia, I think it's the perfect time for the Kerygma Speed Round. All right, Jason, are you ready for the Kerygma Speed Round?
We'll find out soon enough.
Okay. So the first question is, who is Jesus to you?
The bread of life.
Okay, boom. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I love that. Second question, what is your elevator pitch for a life with Jesus?
John Paul II said that every man who seeks the kingdom of God will find himself.
Everybody wants to find themselves.
Yeah. Seek him and you'll find yourself in the process.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, third question and final question of the Kerygma Speed Round. What is your elevator pitch specifically for life as a Catholic?
Make a gift of yourself. Yeah, make a gift of yourself, because holiness is not about being put in some little mold.
Yeah.
But you look at the uniqueness of the saints, they're so radiantly unique. Sin dulls our personality, whereas sainthood is the full bloom of the human person.
Wow. Okay. Make a gift of yourself, people. I know I want to. All right. That was a great Kerygma Speed Round, Jason. You nailed it. I love that. And my brain just started going nuts a little bit with that last answer. Make a gift of yourself. Like I think about in my own life when I've been resistant to the church, I think a lot about feeling resistant to being told what to do, how to live your life, because it's one thing to disagree with ideas in the church, but it's another thing to not want to be bossed around, right? Yeah. Like, why are these white old guys in Rome telling me how to live my life? What are they doing in my bedroom? Yeah. And I think that idea of making a gift of yourself, like not to the church explicitly, although that's good too in a different way, but really making a gift of yourself to God, like allowing yourself to be his rather than being your own God.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times in our false attempts to find freedom, we end up as slaves.
Yeah.
I'm not having some guy tell me in Rome what to do. Well, who's telling what you do? Your hormones.
Yeah.
They own you. Like, where they go, you follow. And so it's not a matter of, like, not having a master. It's a matter of who that's going to be. Like, who's going to be Lord over me? Is it going to be the Lord? Because if not, someone else is going to move into that space.
Wow.
And so I heard a definition of freedom once that was interesting. The person said, freedom is not simply the freedom to do, whatever you want to do. He said, freedom is actually the ability to do what you don't want to do in order to do what is good.
Wow.
And it was really an interesting twist of just like, I want to do that, but I know what's right, and I'm going to choose this. Having that freedom instead of just being dictated by ourselves and our own horns to what we want instead of what is truly good.
Wow, that's so good. Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't know how much you've been keeping up on like current events with like, different political stuff within the church, different like people that disagree with each other about things in the church.
People disagree with each other in the church?
I don't know what that's about. It's a very recent thing.
I didn't see that episode.
Yeah. Anyways, most recently, there are like these two potential schisms that are being considered right now in the church. Yeah. I don't know if you heard this. The first of them is those who want to believe, and it's nonsensical to me, that your last name is pronounced Everett.
Oh, yes, this is potential schism.
Yeah. and those who are fully matured spiritually, more they have a strong ground to stand on in their faith. Evert.
Yeah, yes.
Evert.
Evert would be the correct pronunciation, so we can avoid a need for another ecumenical council. We can just settle it right there, Evert.
It is amazing to me how we just have these words
Yeah.
that just people will just start butchering, and it just gets passed on and on and on.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't mind. I've been called a lot worse things. So
yeah. So the second schism that we're trying to avoid here, and hopefully there's something we can do right here on this show to resolve it. There's the portion of the church that wants to put an end to the Catholic Weird Stuff segment on the Awaken Catholic show.
No, we can't
and
have
then
that.
no, we can't have that. So we're going to kind of lean into that other side, and hopefully, they'll have evangelizers and make stuff happen for the Catholic Weird Stuff segment, which we're going to continue right now.
Catholic weird stuff. Why do they do the things that they do? Let's learn some Catholic weird stuff. It's super weird.
Today, we're going to be talking about what this whole thing is with natural family planning, which ties directly into the theology of the body. So you may have heard of something called NFP, that's natural family planning, and you may have heard, like I have heard on many occasions, isn't that just Catholic contraception, or isn't that just the rhythm method? Or it's like, no. So Jason, set us straight here.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like, well, are you going to let grandmother die of old age, or are you going to murder her? I feel like there's a little bit of that at play here, but give us a solid, just preliminary. What's the deal?
Yeah. Well, the use of the word birth control, I think, confused a lot of people because the church is not against controlling births.
Okay.
The church is not saying you need to indiscriminately have as many children as physically possible or otherwise you're displeasing God. That's what a lot of people think. And so they're like, well, we can't afford that psychologically, financially. Well, forget the church. We use contraception. Other people think NFP is the outdated old calendar rhythm method. That had a failure rate of 30%. I'm a fan of that because my parents tried it didn't work, and I'm here, so that's a really good deal for me. But
so we want people to use the rhythm method.
So natural family planning today, it's more than 99% effective in spacing out kids. But we need to also understand it's not that NFP is the default. Get married, use NFP instead of contraception. Good Catholics use NFP, bad Catholics use contraception. Now, good Catholics realize children are the supreme gift of marriage.
Yeah.
The default position is openness to the gift of life. And so there are, though, good reasons sometimes that maybe now is not the time to have another kid. I met one couple on the East Coast. Their friends got married. They got pregnant with twins. A month after they had the twins, her fertility came back. She got pregnant with triplets.
No, she didn't.
So within the first year of marriage, they had created 5 human lives. So by their second wedding anniversary, they had 5 in diapers. And so you can understand, maybe after those first 5 in the first 2 years, maybe it's good to take a little break. Maybe we need a little bit of sanity, heal the sleep deprivation going on, and that could be an example of where a couple might want to use natural family planning. And so what it taught me as a husband is my wife's body's really perfect. She doesn't need shots and pills and drugs and barriers and plastic. She just needs to be understood. Because if we can understand her fertility, then instead of suppressing it with chemicals to conform to our desires, we just kind of conform our desires to the way our body's already been perfectly made. And so to me, it's real sexual liberation. And it's also amazing. I knew one couple, they had a conversion, quit using contraception, started charting the wife's fertility, and it's something you do as a couple together, and the husband's like, well, that doesn't look right, that part of your chart, and shouldn't this be happening there? I think something's wrong. And they said, well, let's go to the doctor. They went to the OBGYN, who was teaching him NFP, and the husband's like, I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be on the chart. And the doctor said, your husband's right. There is something definitely wrong. I think it could be a thyroid issue. We need to get this addressed today. I need to send you down to the lab. We need to do some tests. So they found out she had a cancerous tumor on her thyroid. They operated the next day, and they saved her life because she was using NFP.
Holy crap.
If she was just burying that under all these synthetic potent sex hormones of contraception, using condom, they never would have known. So you're holding in your hands your own reproductive health chart with NFP that tells you a lot more than just, can you have a baby now or not?
Yeah.
Because it's great, too, if you're struggling with fertility, you can pinpoint the time where you're most fertile in the month in case you want to grow the family.
Yeah.
And so it's not just this Russian roulette of a bunch of Vatican celibates telling you what to do in the bedroom.
Right.
It's a real gift.
And some of those benefits really come when you've been doing it for some amount of time so that you can see where the inconsistencies kind of might crop up or something, right?
Yeah,
you can't just start it next month and realize, I have a tumor. You have to see some patterns. And
well, yeah, and ideally a woman should learn to use NFP before she's even married. Because, it's just healthy to know your own reproductive health chart instead of just taking your fertility for granted that everything's going on normal. Because there could be other stuff going on, whether it's endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome and all kinds of stuff that charting can play a a big role into helping to diagnose what's the real issue instead of just throwing the girls on the pill, which really treats symptoms more than the actual disease.
Yeah. And then you might not end up finding what the real source of the issue is. It could evolve and become something worse. Like there's so much there. And then I also think about some of the, I think it's Dr. Janet Smith. She has a CD about, or CD. Yeah. How old am I?
I've got a cassette.
Anyways, Janet Smith talks about the history of the pill. And I literally couldn't believe my ears back when I used to, drive the Flintstones car and have a CD player.
Yeah.
Literally, from what I recall of this, and if you remember something, differently, correct me. But like from what I recall, the pill was originally being engineered for men, and then they saw that it made their testicles smaller. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, oh, we can't do that to men, so let's experiment on women instead.
Yeah.
And then they had much worse symptoms, and they were like, it works.
Yeah. They were testing on both the men and the women in the Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic because you can't test on the American women, so let's go to a developing nation because that way they can't hire some high-powered attorney to sue the pharmaceutical company for treating us like guinea pigs, so let's go down to the poor. And so, the men had a slight shrinkage in the testes. They're like, forget it, no pill for me. And then 3 of the girls died, and they just adjusted the dosage, kept testing on the women. Because even today, all forms of hormonal contraception for women exist for men. They have birth control pills for men, patches, implants, shots. They've got all of it for men. But the pharmaceutical companies say they're not really going to develop it and market it because they said, well, for one, guys aren't really going to want to take it. Like, hey, don't give me that stuff. Put it in the woman's body. That's her pregnancy's her thing. And then also they said investors are concerned that men will be more aggressive in terms of litigation when we start suffering the way the women have for decades. And that'll be bad for the investors. And so they said, just keep giving it to the ladies. Give the men just contraception.
When you hear that, you look at that history, it's just, there's such a different spirit about it. It's evil. It's dark. It hurts people. I mean, I know some women who, because of the pill, they've dealt with incredible weight gain since starting the pill. I've seen some women that have had major blood clot issues because of the pill.
The estrogen.
And like it's all of this, like, unless you're taking it because your doctor recommended it for some other thing, and maybe there's another solution for you in case you're watching or listening. Yeah. But like, it's all in this desperate need to control, and not knowing A, that you don't need to be in control, but B, if you need to help God avoid a pregnancy, there's a better, more loving and more beautiful way that, like, you can sing Kumbaya with your fertility while you're avoiding pregnancy. And
God wants you to be able to control your body. The people on birth control are the ones who don't want to control their bodies. They want to leave it up to the chemicals to control their body for them. That's the deeper issue. But yeah, I mean, if you, like, 4 doctors in a row told my wife she needs the pill for medical reasons back when we were engaged. Got painful cramps, this and that going on. And we went to a world-renowned gynecologist, and I asked him, how many girls need the pill for medical reasons? He said, oh, thankfully, virtually none. We have all the treatments in medicine today. He healed her without the pill. She's been perfectly fine ever since. And like our website, chastity.com, if you go to chastity.com/pill, we've got lists of doctors nationwide that you can contact for this stuff. Because even he said, you know what the pill is? He says lazy gynecology. He said they've made barely any progress in women's health in 50 years because the doctors are so busy dishing out the pills instead of actually diagnosing, because they're treating symptoms. Oh, yeah, bad cramps, take a pill. Yeah. Okay, well, how come if I get off the pill, the cramp comes back? It's because you never treated the underlying issue, which takes more effort. And so, it is a way overprescribed, and there's so many side effects you shouldn't even have to worry about going on, like the weight gain, mood swings, all that stuff. Yeah. So it's potent sex hormones.
Yeah. So how does this tie into Catholic weird stuff? Yeah. Well, NFP, natural family planning, it's a technology that the church, like, is fully behind. Like, this is so good and in conformity with Catholic teaching on human dignity, and it's even better for your body. Like, all around, it's better for your relationship. It's better for your marriage. It's natural, right? Like, isn't that the thing nowadays? Be a hipster, be natural. Don't let your kid eat anything that came out of a plastic carton because it might have gotten some kind of interaction with the chemicals of the plastic in the carton. Like, but we're taking the pill. Yeah. Like, don't play with Legos because they're plastic, but let me take the pill. No, like, the church loves you. The church wants you to live a good and healthy life, both inside and out. And I think that that's a lot of where this push that you hear about comes from for natural family planning, is that you can suffer less
Yeah.
And you can have a beautiful, healthy, thriving sex life in your marriage as a result of that. That otherwise is so much easier to fall into using each other, or So, but I think that little statement I just said is the perfect segue into the rest of our show. So, you. You know you've always wanted to go to Paris. Well, now's your chance. If you go with Select International Tours, the sponsor of today's Awaken Catholic Show episode, you can join Claire Swinarski from the Catholic Feminist podcast, as well as author and speaker Catherine Whitaker, and our amazing hosts Morgan Holliger and Megan Burwell from Awaken's show Naked Without Shame, on a once-in-a-lifetime Seine River cruise pilgrimage in France. Visit and venerate the Sister Saints of France in Lisieux, Paris, Lourdes, and more. Sacre bleu! Learn more by visiting selectinternationaltours.com/awaken. Jason, you've penned.
Yeah.
I don't know if you used a pen or not. You've penned
feather quill.
Yeah, you've penned some books. I got 2 of them right here. How many? Do you know how many books in total you've been a part of creating?
I think it's about 17.
That's amazing. That's not something that the average Joe can do.
I have lots of plane rides.
Yeah. So what we got here is a book called Forged and a book called The Dating Blueprint. So tell us about these books.
Yeah, well, the Dating Blueprint is a book that came out. We wrote a book for the girls, single young adult women, college girls, became real popular. How to find your soulmate without losing your soul. And people are like, well, where's the book for guys? And I'm like, guys don't read, okay? And they're like, no, we're literate or whatever. So we wrote this book for the guys because we realized guys are not real good at dating. Mm-hmm. And that's because we don't operate well with abstract principles. Be a gentleman. Like, great. We really need specific guidelines. And if we know what we're supposed to do, we can do a really good job, but nobody teaches guys how to date. Yeah. And the girls have all these expectations, but they don't feel like it's their place to tell us what they wish we knew. And so I said, let me just breach the gap. And I got on social media. We got like 100,000 followers who are single females. And I said, girls, what do you just wish the guys knew? How do you want to be asked out? How do you not want to be asked out? First date, not first date. Tell me, and then I'll just put it in the book. And they submitted like 30,000 words of feedback within hours, and it was gold. And now we're delivering this to the guys of not even how to ask her out, but how to break up and how not to ghost a girl and just disappear and like just all this kind of stuff. And the guys are eating it up. One guy emailed me, he's like, it worked. I did what you said, and I've had a girlfriend for 6 months, and it's just been amazing. And just how to put the stupid cell phone down and look a girl in the eyes, be intentional, be courageous, be clear, and take a risk. Mm-hmm. Girls love it. Mm-hmm. It's like, thank goodness we've got a guy who's not too much of a coward to hide behind his cell phone every time he wants to swipe into a relationship. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, talk to me in the face. Don't go through my friends. Ask me out. Use the word date. Plan it. And the guys, when they know, okay, that's what she wants. Okay, game on. Let's go.
Yeah.
And making sure you're ready to date, not only at the right time, but the right person, and that you're the right person, and that you're ready to ask for her to enter a relationship instead of inviting her in when the house is a disaster. I mean, clean the house first, then invite her in. And so that's kind of the Dating Blueprint book. And then the Forged is so many guys kept coming to us like, oh man, I'm hooked on porn. I can't break free. I keep messing up with my girlfriend. How do I start over? And we'd give them like, hey, well, check out this podcast and listen to this app. And, and then I thought, man, I wish we had just one-stop shop with every advice we could possibly give. So I got with Matt Fradd, and we're like, let's do a 33-day journey for guys that every day it's a different spiritual weapon that they need to use, but not just like spiritual, but theological, psychological, neurological, relational, sociological, approaching it from a fully human perspective. And so every day you get a different spiritual exercise, meditation, and then you get a free video on your phone from me, Father Mike Schmitz, Father Jacques Philippe, Matt Fradd, Chris Stefanik, Sister Miriam James, Mother Miriam. Every day it's somebody new giving you a little 4-minute kick in the pants.
Wow.
And that by the end of the time the book's over, it's not like a money-back guarantee. You're going to be free for porn for life. These are the weapons you're going to need in your arsenal every day to win and fight this journey.
So is the idea that as you're reading the book, you're getting these daily videos?
Yeah, every day you get a new video first thing in the morning, shows up on your phone.
Okay, and does it correlate to parts of the book, or can you just blast through the book?
No, you need to do it one day at a time.
One day at a time. So it's like a devotional. Oh, yeah, 33 days toward freedom. I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a cool project. I love that. That's so important.
And we don't sell them in individual copies. You have to do it with somebody else.
Oh, interesting.
You only can buy them in pairs. So we want guys, campus ministries doing it together. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to go Lone Ranger and win in this battle, good luck to you.
Oh, yeah.
You need accountability. And so 100%. We build it in.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I personally, I can say, like, I have an accountability partner, and And it's really cool. Like, it goes so far beyond that at this point. Like, it goes beyond just holding each other accountable when it comes to lust, pornography, that kind of stuff. It's also just like we have a deep brotherhood, and we will like pray over each other for different things. And I just want to encourage viewers, listeners, if you're like, oh, how am I going to get an accountability partner? Well, or don't put in the effort and like keep struggling. Like find someone that you can trust, and and make sure you're someone that someone else can trust. And when you need help, you reach out to each other and you pray for each other. So I'm so excited. So make sure to check out Forged at chastity.com, right?
Mm-hmm, yep. Mm-hmm.
And then also the dating blueprint. So if you're like, why can't I keep a girlfriend, or why do I not have a girlfriend? You got the blueprint right here. Yeah. It's about time, Jason.
So we got lots of stuff for girls too, but those are just some of the guys' stuff we have.
I think I remember when I was a youth minister, I used to give out a book of yours. It might have been like co-authored between you and Kristalina, that like on the one side it was for boys, and then you flip it over.
Theology of his body, theology of her body.
Okay, yeah. That was always a hit. People liked that a lot.
Good.
Yeah, I think that there's this hunger to understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even amongst men, and this isn't something that is readily discussed enough, probably, but like in brotherhood and in fraternity, like one man to the next, it's there's so much social pressure to fit a certain mold, or to be the man, or whatever, and it really kind of can prevent us from entering into a deeper relationship, because there's a lack of vulnerability in those friendships. And so understanding each other as men is super important, but then all the more so when you're talking to someone of the opposite gender. Getting to a point where, like, and I think books like what you just described, the dating blueprint, like, these are really cool opportunities to kind of like come to a deeper understanding of the other person involved in this situation. And I think that can make a really, really big difference.
Yeah, and you make so much more progress just being around the right type of guys. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he mentioned that another husband, dad that he knows, he's like, yeah, Matt? And I'm like, yeah, I remember from college. He's like, yeah, man, Matt gets up 2 hours before his kids every school morning, so he's got 2 hours to pray to get his day ready and to be the spiritual leader he needs to be for the family. And it was just one sentence in that conversation I had in passing, but like I've been marinating on that for like months of just like, yeah, I get up a little early for prayer, but like, dude, 2 hours? It's like, but it was just a real check of just like, wow. I mean, just simple conversations like that, when you're with the right people, can really give you these little nuggets to hold on to. In the Forged book, there was one guy that I was reading as I was researching this. He kind of opens up to his friend like, dude, I'm really having trouble in the marriage. And the guy's like, well, what's going on? He said, I haven't told anybody. And this is a real good Christian guy he's opening up to. He's like, look, I'm going to prostitutes. I'm cheating on my wife. I'm going to strip clubs. I'm looking at porn. I'm struggling with masturbation. I'm like the whole 9 yards. And his good Christian friend looks at him and says, well, if what you really want to do is look at porn and masturbate, then go ahead and do it. And he's like what? And he knew this guy to be like a good, upstanding Christian guy. And he's like, what? And the guy's like, yeah, like if what you really want to do is look at porn and masturbate, then go ahead and do it. And his friend kind of hits the table. He's like, look, that's not what I want to do. And his friend said, exactly. And for him, it was this watershed moment of like, wait a minute, my deepest desire is not to be some depraved, unfaithful loser. My deepest desire is to be a noble, sacrificial, heroic, faithful husband. There's good in me still. And so just that one little conversation just pivoted his whole life. But he wouldn't have come to that realization if he struggled with all this shame and isolation by himself. He exposed the wound to a physician who could just be like, boom. Yeah. And so that's why we just deprive ourselves so much when we're just living as lone rangers.
Oh, amen. Amen. So I think that's a great note to end on, Jason. You and I need to get to an event, but I just wanted to say that along those lines, if you're interested in getting an accountability partner, opening up to someone, being vulnerable and inviting them to do the same, check out Forged, go through it together, 33 days, and then you have those videos that go along with it. Super, super worth it. And then check out the Dating Blueprint, also a great recent book from Jason. Jason, any parting words?
I would just ask the prayers of our listeners for your family, for mine, and just be assured of ours in prayer. Because, St. Teresa of Lisieux said it's a much better thing to talk to God than to talk about Him. And it's easier to sit here for a half hour, have a great conversation, but the real conversation is the one between Him and us. So let's just pray for each other. Amen. I love that. And so people can find you at chastity.com. Yeah. You're on Instagram as, I think, Jason Evert. Jason Evert. Same thing with YouTube, Twitter. We've got the podcast, Lust is Boring. All that stuff you can find right at chastity.com. All right. Awesome. Well, Jason, thanks so much for being with me here today with us. Yeah. And I have been Nick Della Torre. This has been Jason Evert.
Evert. And this has been the Awaken Catholic Show. Everybody, until next time, I just want you to know one thing. Jesus loves you.
This show and all media on Awaken Catholic is made possible by the Awaken Nation and the Hallow app. The Awaken Nation is a community of people like you who support all things Awaken for as cheap as a cup of coffee a week and get access to exclusive content. Learn more by visiting awakencatholic.org/donate. Hallow is the only audio-guided Catholic prayer app focused on contemplative prayer and traditional Catholic meditation such as Lectio Divina, Daily Examen, and the Rosary. We here at Awaken all use Hallow every day and love it. To learn more or give it a try, visit hallow.app/awaken.